Hello again, thank you for joining me for another video. This is attempt number 10. 10 times try to make a video. I have so much on my mind. There's so much intensity in the air right now. Full moons, man, they're no joke. Not for me anyways. I feel it every time. I'm very empathic, I'm very sensitive. I have PTSD to the max and also super duper spiritual. So you put those two things together, guess what happens? You feel everything. And so I'm having my own karmic stuff come up, my own patterns, my own residual achy pain, achy breaky heart shit in there coming to the surface, and it is making it really difficult for me right now to be in the presence of other people. So I'm trying to make a video, but even though you're not here, I can feel you. So I want to run. I want to avoid. I want to cocoon. I want to get out of society. That's like the theme of this full moon for me, is the reminder of how much I resent. And it is full resentment. I resent society for the million ways that it demands and does not reciprocate. It doesn't reciprocate from how much it is actually demanding. And I know that there are ethical considerations there about how much each person gives to the whole in order to have a sense of harmony for everybody. And I get that, but I've had to really carve out and hold space for myself to heal. And society does not make that easy. It's not like it grants a whole, a bunch of time or forgiveness for the space that you need to take to actually heal. We're really bad at dealing with the grieving that comes with being such fragile creatures and such sensing, feeling, emotional creatures. We just really don't provide a lot of comforting spaces and soothing spaces. It's like everything is set up to make you not a feeling person and not a sensing person. And so then trying to carve time to actually process and become aware of what is alive and active in your field, it can be a little bit tricky. And right now for me, that is largely the way that we've set up our institutions, our educational system, the means and methods with which we are, attempting to understand human psychology, human evolution, life on this planet, what it means to be alive, and then finding functional pathways for health. And it's how far away from health could we actually be? So we've invested all of this time and money in all of these institutions, and you think about how many books have been written by human beings, and then there's still this complete, glazed over expression on most people's faces. And if that glazed expression wasn't there, I would imagine there'd be a lot of rage boiling below the surface, a lot of pain and agony, because we don't process these things. And so those of us who have had to, because of our life experiences or because of a spiritual awakening, you don't get to have the blinders on. I know a lot of people attempt to put the blinders back on, the spiritual rose colored glasses. That isn't an option for anyone who's had a real stark spiritual awakening, where they're fully aware that people are capable of really crazy, dark, demented things. And it isn't just a matter of, not vibrating to that frequency. It doesn't make those things go away, even if they aren't in your immediate sphere. And if I am a conscious agent and creative, I'm going to use some of that intuition and imagination to think about what a world without those things would look like realistically. How would we implement that? So it's like all the things that I learned when I was going to college about how to like make things better for people, and the amount of people that were suffering from mental health issues, and lives of despair, lives that were not fulfilling, that whose so much potential wasted in our society because people don't have access. Because why? So I'm coming up against that. I'm coming up against like how much time we spend in these little kind of unimportant or less important um, like time wasting busy work, instead of like every moment being able to be like the kind of like highest utility. It's like really just so much busy work, um, and I get resentful of the amount of busy work that I'm expected to do, the amount of busy work that everyone is expected to do, because I see it as all this like such a beautiful potential energy that could be utilized and put in place for creating these like vistas of human cooperation. And they're not. And so we talk a lot about the problems in society and the things that we want to fix, and the recognition of where the symptoms are showing up, but our solutions are not depth. They lack depth, because none of them are being really investigated in terms of spirituality, because spirituality is still coming through in this matrix, this religious, dogmatic, formulaic sense. And it takes what spirituality offers is an experience of reality without rules, without boundaries, without limitations. And so the second you start putting boundaries and limitations on it, you're no longer dealing with spirituality, you're dealing with social systems. And so there's a real difficulty in actually marrying social systems and society and your own need to be a full evolving being. And even if you cultivate the full extent of your abilities to intuit and heal yourself, heal others, imagine systems that are supportive and harmonious. Like, obviously it's possible to create systems that are harmonious and self regulating and intelligent, because we can look at nature and we can see that. And so there's already like a framework for it, but we're not like putting that in place for our own selves. Like, we treat ourselves like criminals. We build a society as if we're all criminals or about to be, and rather than investigating why is all this stuff below the surface? Why are we seeing things in black and white? Things that they're not black and white. It isn't like duality the way that some people describe it. Like, night is not opposite of day. It's just stop and think about it. They're not opposites. They're on a spectrum of location of where the sun is. So the sun existing and the sun not existing would be a duality, but the sun being farther away, to me, is not. If we understand that in dual terms, we're missing something really important about reality, about our lives here, and the cyclical nature of things. I don't think male and female are opposites in the way that some people do. This is not, male and female are not dual creatures. They're one creature. And when we hear the word duality, we think in terms of opposites. But I think we need to stop thinking in those terms, so that we can see things more clearly as they are. That they aren't really polar opposites. So what would be the polar opposite of male and female? Something that isn't able to reproduce. A female can reproduce and a male can reproduce. There's more similarities between them than differences. So why we put these two things that must be brought together to reproduce is it's weird. And we do that a lot with a lot of things. So all these ways in which society is deconstructing and putting boxes around things that really shouldn't have boxes. It's driving me crazy. It's like constantly being bombarded with untruths and given no time to investigate what feels like truth in my soul, because truth has a very different feel to it. And if you sit in a bit of silence without the language part of your brain going 50 miles a minute, and you sit in that silent state, truth is very, very obvious. It's obvious. There's no question. And we have all of this language dumped on top of us, and then tasks. Task after task after task after task. And I'm just exhausted by it. I've tried on more than one occasion to figure out how to get out of society. But because of private property, there is no place to get out of society. It's not possible at this point in time, unless somebody wanted to be kind enough to give you a spot on their private property. There's no place to be. There's no way out of it. And so what most people do is tune out. They tune out that fact, and they just let this thing continue growing. This monstrosity of noise, which society has become. And the more we try to find ways to like get clarity inside of a wall of noise, it's just not possible. We need spaces outside of it without fear of death. And that's what's missing. So I've always had a little bit of resentment for it. And that's really come up for me today. I went to college. I wanted to do a career thing. And God stripped it all right away from me. And I wrestle with the perceptions around that. And having been homeless also, and just the way that all of these projections of society get put on you, of whether or not you matter, whether or not you have value. The more busy work you do, if you could get yourself to work like 20 hours a day, then you have value. It's nice to get that stuff cleared and have time to contemplate. It seems like the time to contemplate is reserved for those who use that time to further their own aims. And that's the largest mistake that society is making, is that the people who are offered the most time to contemplate these things aren't given a vehicle um, to do it on a large scale, something like that. Self-serving as opposed to other-serving. And you know them by their fruits. That's the deal. So, sorry for the rant and the vent. I hope you are well. I hope you're surviving the full moon, clearing out the last of the shadowy substances that might be disturbing your soul. So feel free to leave any comments below if you want, and I will see you next time. Take care.